these challenging and uncertain times, many companies have realized the value of their people, their core talent, and they've made exceptional efforts to care for them. Now, others have not. And tales abound of what I think are abhorrent ways to make employees redundant. For example, the Zoom doom call. I've long held the belief that people make businesses and people can also break businesses. So what should be the best HR practices? Well, I couldn't think of a better person to discuss these issues with than my guest today. She's a world-renowned human capital expert with proven executive leadership for Fortune 500 leaders. She's the Chief Talent Officer and the Managing Partner for Parrish Partners. So let's take a virtual flight to sunny California and say, welcome, Dr. Jeanette Winters.
Oh, Malcolm, it's so good to see you, and welcome to Northern California.
Right. Well, it's great. I just love this cyber flights as well. We were discussing beforehand about see if we can get cyber air miles, both of us, but let's get into the question. So tell me about yourself and what you do for your clients.
So I really work with a three-legged stool: people, change, and technology. And what I really focus on is enabling organizations to be more productive through individuals and through their organizations, through scalable problem solving, and making sure that the processes, programs, and procedures are aligned from talent to business strategy to fulfillment.
Excellent, yeah. So what do you like about what you do?
Oh, because first of all, it's working with people every day.
Right.
And so I get to see people grow. I see teams coming together, doing the impossible, the unthinkable, the unimaginable in many ways. And that sort of energy carries me through long days, and it used to carry me through long flights, but it's making the world a better place, person by person, organization by organization.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I love the buzz of an exciting business. What do you think the state of play of HR is in the world today?
Well, I think we are just beginning to crack the code, if you will, of using data. I think we've had data before. We didn't know the power of it, and we didn't know how to connect it to the business. So, for example, really looking at in a manufacturing organization, when you're doing workforce planning and how many people it takes to produce a widget and what that cost is, and and how you bring about the best product possible. We didn't get this sense of what data could do for us, though. And so now I really see data beginning to eliminate call it contamination, if you will, of decisions based on legacy, the way it's always been, and even unconscious bias. We now have data right up in front of us that allows us to say, this is the situation we're looking at.
Wow.
The other thing is that we have learned, and I say we in the colloquial we, but we have learned so much about the way the human brain works, that neuroscience is genuinely beginning to have an impact on leadership and learning. We know how the adult brain works, and using that so that leaders and all of us can use our emotions most effectively, our emotions and working with others, it really begins to play into productive relationships. Employees are not like 19th century children. We used to, you read the historical.
Downton Abbey.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great example where they pat them on the head. They'd all be dressed and clean. And then they, seen and not heard. Employees aren't like that. We need to have individuals that come in that are charging. They want to own their attitude. They want to own the work that they do and bring a contribution. That's very important. And, we talk about millennials wanting to have that sense of ownership and contribution. The truth of it is, our research tells us very clearly that is irrespective of generation. We just haven't enabled it in many large corporations, and now we can. And that's why, man, I think that is such a great advance. Bottom line, man, there is a lot of change going on. What's happening in human resources, we're catapulting the field from an orientation of transactions and really looking at, checking boxes and making sure forms are filled out, to really tapping innovation, becoming truly people-centric, and really looking at a purpose focus individually and collectively as an organization.
Very good. I'm totally with you on all of that. The coronavirus pandemic in my country, and I suppose in yours as well, has raised the people question to great heights.
Oh, yeah.
Best practices have you seen in good people care and talent management?
There's a CEO that I have worked with who really demonstrated putting not only his reputation, but his personal touch on the unfortunate situation of redundancies. Mm-hmm. He knew that as a company that is investing in technology and really doing lots of new product development, he had to let 59 people go. That's a lot of talent that he had worked so hard to get. Now, I've seen lots of CEOs. In fact, one of my good friends in our Mind Master group, where we get together and sort of vent with each other, she came in and her CEO said to her, "Go handle this COVID thing." What does that even mean? Well, unfortunately, it was to handle the reductions and making people, reducing the staff count. Well, this CEO that I'm thinking of, he took this so personally. He got all of the employees together. He explained how decisions were made, why they were made, and what they were going to do to support the people that had to leave. He not only got out in front of every single person, looking them right in the eye, he also then picked up the phone and called his network and said, "I've got 59 crack individuals. I'm looking for a job. They are on the street, not because they're not terrific, but because of where we are as an organization." That sort of investment, both of his personal time and getting out in front, he wasn't hiding behind managers delivering the story or whatever. He did it personally. And then he helped people get placed. It's that level of engagement and investment that I think is so necessary at this time. The thing that I've seen that is required of all of us is flexibility. Employees are proving that they can work from home.
Yeah.
And, we've got the tools, but there is that inevitable tug of war between work and life. And I have a colleague who has wee ones at home. And, we've had meetings and we see an 8-month-old little face popping up. That 8-month-old knows enough to look at the web camera and wave at me.
Yeah.
And because that's what mom does. Now, mom also doesn't work now between the hours of 10 and 2. She works very, very early in the morning. She works late at night because her oldest child is in school and she has to, do that remotely. It's flexibility. So we don't plan meetings between 10 and 2. Big deal. We get the things done and work around her needs. The other thing is a sense of humor.
Yes, right.
I was talking to an individual and all of a sudden I see this tail across the bottom. Well, I couldn't help but laugh. And the candidate was a little bit embarrassed. And he said, "Oh, that's my cat." And I said, "Okay, let's see the cat." It's connecting to people as humans. And I think that's really, what we need. And the thing that I've been so delighted to see is this idea of continuing employee development, both at the leadership and the rank and file level. And that is both essential and what a great opportunity that we have. And so I've seen lots of organizations take full advantage of that. But the most important thing from a human perspective is this idea of demonstrating heart and concern. both for mental health
Yes.
and physical health. The best acknowledgement of us as human beings as caring, as one of the writers that I like to read talks about, that neurobiological need of being connected to others and knowing we matter. And there are times where it can feel very isolating. I'm lucky I have my family around me. You do too, Malcolm. But for those people that are working and living home alone, boy, that can be a tough life. And those that offer connection and sense of caring, whether it's running errands, dropping food off at the front door, just ringing up and saying, how is it? How are you doing? And demonstrating, frankly, a love for those around them in their community of work and their community in which they live. And I think that that's something that is going to be one of the real badges of courage that we take away from this time together separately, is that we have come to appreciate the importance of presence, of being there and really being there with the people that you are amongst every day.
Excellent. I'm totally with you. We just recently taken down the sign we put on our gate at the end of the drive, keep calm and be kind. And the amount of people that sort of remarked upon that, and we took a photograph, put it around Facebook, and it just went all the way around. And it's true, isn't it?
No doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kindness doesn't cost us anything except intent.
Yeah.
And being unselfish. And I just think that is such a great gift. And the truth of it is, what we know is that not only is it a gift for others that we're being kind to, we feel better about ourselves when we do that.
Yeah.
And so it's a 2-for-1.
Excellent. Now, do you think good talent is inherent, or can it be grown?
Both. And so if you think of an opera singer or an artist, they have talents. And Malcolm, I've played the piano, and as my piano instructor has long said, you are technically quite proficient. You have absolutely no talent. And so the thing of it is, things like music and art come from a space that it's a gift that we're born with. However, I really believe that somebody that has a curiosity, they're agile, they are humble, they're willing to learn and roll up their sleeves and do. That's a will that I will take over skill any day, because I can train skills if somebody's really interested. And that's why I say, we can grow our skills, we can enhance our natural gifts, and otherwise learn to excel if we care. But that only comes with an ownership mentality. And I don't care if you're delivering pizzas or if you are, hammering a nail to make someone's home. I really think that by owning you and your work and knowing who you are deep inside, that's where curiosity, learning agility, and humility will take you miles and miles and miles.
Yeah. I think also understanding the importance that you play in a business. My core sector I train in is tourism, travel, and hospitality. And I say to the people in hospitality, the dishwasher is just as important as the maitre d' at the front. They're all delivering.
There's no question about it. And if you think about it, if the maitre d' doesn't have clean dishes on the table, no matter how charming he or she is, without having clean dishes, you can't serve. And so we are part of a network. We're part of an army together. And we need to remember that collaboration is absolutely the thread that weaves us together.
Excellent. Okay. Now, remote working or work from home, WFH, I think it's become.
There you go. It has its own acronym now.
Yes, I know. It's likely to grow big. What top tips do you have on heading a global team who will become even more remote if they WFH?
Well, I've led global teams for more than 2 decades now. And, the thing of it is, to gather together working from home for me isn't new. However, we've proven that it can work and that we can influence team wellness together. But let's acknowledge the obvious. Working from home isn't for everyone. Not everyone has that self-discipline or has that ability to self-direct. And so you have to know whether or not working at home works for you. But globally, never make one geography bear the brunt. And I had teams that spanned from Leixlip, Ireland to Penang, Malaysia. And so, it was sun up, sun down, and into the wee hours of the morning. But the thing of it is, what we did is we rotated the meetings. So we would accommodate Leixlip in Ireland, 1 month or 1 quarter. You figure that out. That's, whatever rhythm works for you. But then the next quarter, then the US we would work around US time zone. Then the next quarter work around Penang, because you don't want any one geography having to bear the brunt of getting up in the middle of the night or, coming in at the crack of dawn. And I think that is, even the idea of asynchronous collaboration and communication, meaning that people are sort of offering ideas and suggestions without physically being present. Or when I'd get up in the morning, I'd say, oh, Malcolm has sent me something, he's been at this for 8 hours already. And so isn't that great? I can take his comments and incorporate them into my work and go on from there. But it's recognizing and being very conscious of that. That it's a sensibility. The other thing that, and I absolutely love this part of it, is to honor the cultures of where people are. Coming to understand what the holidays are for, that the language, the history, people in China, Chinese New Year's is a big deal. Well, where did that come from? And what are the traditions that go along with that? What about those little red envelopes, and what do they mean? And what about the food and, the fruit and the beautiful displays of things? That's wonderful to learn. And that's something that you can readily share. Just one tip that I have used, and it's really quite helpful. Having international calendar holidays show on your office calendar, your electronic system. So when you pop up in the morning and it says, oh my, it's the 9th of June, then you can say, the 9th of June, in this location, this is the holiday. Even in the United States, there are state-based holidays that if you weren't raised in a state, you would never know about. And that's fun to come to know. And just explaining the legacy of what is being honored or celebrated can be a truly enlightening experience. And I certainly
I take exactly that idea, by the way, because we do the same. I've been in the travel business for 40, 50 years. So I will send people a happy Diwali to India. Yeah. And they say, oh, they're chuffed. It's nice, isn't it?
Absolutely. You feel like you're being seen.
Yes.
Right? You're absolutely. And one last tip, make sure that you are assigning work as a leader where the competence and proficiency exists. Don't play favorites. Don't gate anyone's opportunities because of where they live, or fail to challenge each and every member of the team. That, you think you're doing someone a favor. Oh, well, they don't know, or they haven't done. You would challenge somebody who is physically down the hall from you. Think of them as physically down the hall and challenge the whole team. Because if you fall prey to the bias that, that one country is better able to handle a task than others, make sure you prove it. And so that that the work has been assigned to where it can best be accomplished.
Excellent advice, excellent advice. Okay, employees are becoming increasingly alarmed that employers are using what's termed as spy software to monitor work from home workers. What's your feeling on such monitoring?
Well, I've spent some time in the call center industry, in financial services, in equipment, customer service, and the like. And there was a good example of work monitoring. We measure everything. You measure the average handling time per call.
Yeah.
You're looking at the top call types. That influences how you train people. You may even look at the first call resolution. When somebody does call, are they able to get their problem solved without being transferred to another department or whatever? That's a good example because that's used to train people. It's used to ensure compliance with the law. And it also ensures that when seconds count, that you're managing those seconds. So I think that's a good example.
Yeah.
And then now, do I think that it's a good idea to be checking in and looking to see when someone logs in the morning, or if they haven't had any activity, meaning keystrokes for a while or whatever? If you have to manage at that level, A, you've got the wrong managers, or B, you have the wrong employees, or C, you need to manage, the work has to be looked at differently. I am one who really believes that people bring their best if you expect their best. And, that sort of monitoring, if it's not for the purpose of doing well or better by the customers and the business, then if you can't trust your employees, that's the issue you ought to be addressing.
Yeah. And that's a key word, trust, I believe. Totally key word.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I know you're going to slap my wrists in a minute.
Uh-oh.
I should be so lucky. But I'm saying soft skills. They're important, but no, it's hurt. In both HR and talent. I've read that you say, though, that confidence is a main skill. What do you mean by that? And why is it needed? Is it the same as courage?
No, it's not. Confidence is a choice. And again, we've learned a lot over the last 10, 15 years about the biology of confidence. It is a decision. It is a skill. It is something that can be learned. It must be practiced. And Malcolm, it's a choice.
Right.
It's a choice. It's all about being confident enough about the truth of something. Now, what do I mean about that? You're personally confident when you are absolutely certain about your values, your needs, and your wants. And that, and people go, oh yeah, I know that. The truth of it is, it's much harder to really solidify your portfolio of values, needs, and wants, so that you really understand what drives you as a person. And those are the things: how you make decisions, how you make choices, and how you step up and step out. Courage, and this is a favorite quote of mine from Nelson Mandela. He always said that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. And so, confidence is a component of courage, and likewise, your confidence enables you to look into that abyss and jump, because you have the skill and you have the heart that will take you the distance there.
Wow. Now, next question. Yes. How should a company create an effective coaching culture that will nurture its best talent?
Well, first of all, don't do it unless you're really going to do it.
Yeah.
This is not, I hear about this all the time, and organizations bring us in and they'll say, oh, we want to have a coaching culture. And then you ask them about, what is coaching designed to do? Well, we're supposed to do that, right? Yes, we should be doing that. The thing of it is, you need to understand what coaching is, what it is not, and how to use it. It is not an excuse not to address poor performance or handle situations where people aren't getting along, just out of, being a little grouchy or having, malintent. The idea is really clarity around what coaching is intended to do. It's to help people grow and become their best selves. And so being your best self enables the team to be stronger and better. And that's really what we're looking at, is bringing the essence of who you are and enabling the work to get done. Now, understand, it's all about getting the work done and making sure that people are feeling acknowledged, they're visible, they're respected, and they're encouraged when they come. Coaching is not performance management, and that is, that's where I see the murkiness sometimes. But a coaching culture can really ensure that people are getting the encouragement, the development, and the mid-course correction when they have time and opportunity to do something about it, which is right in the here and now. And that, in my mind, is what a coaching culture is really all about.
I really hope people have listened to that one very carefully, because it's really, really important what you've been saying there. Now, sadly, businesses around the world are having to make people redundant. Mm-hmm. What should a good HR department be doing in this process?
Well, and I'm not trying to, shirk our responsibilities, because this is one of the unfortunate things that comes with a role. However, this is a shared responsibility between management, leadership, and HR. What do I mean by that? The manager who has managed that individual is the one that should be sharing the news that someone is losing their job. HR is there to explain the benefits going forward, what the process will be, enabling a graceful exit. But the hiring, the person you reported to is the one that should tell you your job is no longer available. Yeah. And so I really think that remembering how personal this is, I cringe when you hear someone say, oh, this isn't personal, this is just business. Yeah. Baloney. This is my paycheck. This is how I feed my family. And you want to remember that.
Yes.
You want to be connected to the fact that you are alterably changing someone's life. And look, they may have done a fabulous job, but you just can't afford to keep them, or the business is changing around you. There's lots of reasons, and it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just at that moment, it's a bad fit, or a fit that's too expensive.
Yes.
So to the extent possible, buffer the individuals. And I think this is a responsibility now more than ever, providing job search support, resume writing, LinkedIn bio assistance, healthcare benefits in the US, which people can actually afford. We have a program which is COBRA, which can be just insanely expensive and, in essence, beyond people's means, because it's subsidized. When you work for the company, it's subsidized by the company. You leave, it's no longer subsidized. And that, at this time in a pandemic, do what you can to extend reasonable cost health benefits as long as you can. Save face. Work with the employee on how to retrieve their personal office, cubicle goods. You don't want that walk of shame with the box walking out the front door with security. Help them and work with them to tell their teammates. I think that, this is going to happen, and, everyone is going to be let go at some point. But how do you want to share the news? The other thing that I feel is important, recognize that individual has built relationships with people, with customers, with suppliers, even competitors. And you should work together with the individual to have enough respect that you will help share the idea of how you will communicate that the individual is no longer part of your organization. This idea, oh, the person is left to seek other opportunities. Yeah, that's great. It's pap. And it really, I understand the need to be surgical. I understand that we need to care for the business, but be humane. And believe me, none of this faint praise stuff. Oh, we're so sorry to see you go, when in the background people are dancing in the streets. We should have done it before, but we didn't. And now we're just using, because we're forced, our hands are forced. Make it quick. advising the employee that they're terminated should be accomplished in 90 seconds. And I'm not joking. This is not a negotiation. You have to execute a decision that has been made. And what you want to do is break the news, allow the person time and opportunity to really embrace it and understand it, and make sure that you allow a time for feedback and opportunity separate and apart from the actual separation process. This is not an opportunity to say, well, what could I have done to, that you would have kept me or whatever. Now's not the time. Don't go there. Really execute the separation and make sure that the manager is taking the lead, because it is his or her job to manage that person through the execution of their walking out the door for the final time.
You've just given a masterclass in how to be a better manager, in my mind. Brilliant.
We know that many people are managers that are ill-equipped for this. They don't like it. They haven't been trained well. And they think that this is HR's job. No, I don't believe that. You hired that person, they work for you, you owe them the honor of telling them that they're not going to be part of your team anymore.
HR is often regarded as the enemy department by employees. I've been summoned to HR. Is this a fair statement, or does HR need to ensure it maintains a balance between employer and employee?
That's one of the challenges. HR is a two-sided coin.
Yeah.
You have to take care of the business, so there's a business to take care of employees. On the other side, you take care of employees who are the business. And the HR has to walk in a very narrow tightrope to accomplish both. But where we pick up the bad rap, when HR is the one doing the performance management, or they're the ones that are separating people, terminating people. And the truth of it is, we simply have to make sure, take care of the business and take care of the people. If you don't do both, you're not serving anyone.
It's said that 50% of new executives last beyond 9 months. 50% last beyond 9 months. Surely this is a waste. So how can it be mitigated?
We hire poorly. It's just that simple. We have long hired who and what we look like. And that is so limiting for organizations. There's really 4 components when you're hiring. And people, for those of you in the job market, these are the same 4 elements that you should be looking at as well. The job, the hiring manager, the team you're going to work on, and the culture of the company. What do I mean by that? Is the job something that is exciting, that has enough growth opportunity to really pull you, where you get up in the morning and go, yes, I'm ready to, either drive into the office or scoop into my office down the hall and get to work. Have that excitement, that verve about it. It's the hiring manager. And I always tell people, I would choose a better hiring manager than the perception of a better company any day, because it's the hiring manager who you are going to work with day in and day out. That's where your career can be made or lost, I'm afraid. The team, do you like the people, and are they welcoming, and are they going to be collaborative? And do they have a culture of support, of enabling and collaborating? Because you need to understand that. If they don't, that can be a really nasty place. And job candidates, you should be evaluating those same things. One of the things, and I tell hiring managers this all the time, they'll come in and they have a list of 39, mandatory skills and qualifications. And I'll say, no, we're not doing that. And, I'd like all these things. Sure, I'd like all those things too. But that description you've just given me is for a purple squirrel. And you go, what's that? And exactly. They don't exist. And so when you're looking for a candidate, look for learning agility, look for someone who's interested in their work, someone who brings a sense of excitement and commitment, passion about the work that they do. That's how you know. I really believe that if we look at those four elements, we'll get out of this mode of hiring poorly, which we have done, unfortunately, for years. And it's really coming to haunt us now, because talent, even in this time of the pandemic, is still, that is it's scarce, and and skills are very highly prized. So hire carefully.
And don't forget the purple squirrel. So
there you go.
How should a CEO and his or her HR team go about attracting great talent? What does such talent look for in a company?
Well, learning agility is really the number one attribute that you're really looking for. And the thing of it is, you're hiring that person for their expertise and the skill they bring. But can they apply it? Malcolm, you've heard it 1,000 times. Somebody comes in and says, well, when I worked at the last 12 companies I've worked for, this is, or if somebody comes from a big company or a well-known brand, well, at so-and-so, we did it this way. The truth of it is, your new company wants the benefit of your experience and expertise, but they don't want it rubbed in your face that there are, better ways of doing things. You need to help people really find a good way to represent themselves, so in a humble and way where they're collaborating and they're bringing best practices, but they're doing so that people can embrace them as opposed to resist them. And I think that really, really is important. And I say, really get to know a candidate, and this idea of asking somebody what type of animal they'd like to be or what their favorite color is, I think that diminishes a very important process. When I'm interviewing for a job, even as a consultant, I'm encouraging people to look at the tough stuff before they, and so, for example, I was just working with a group of new college graduates, and they said, well, Dr. J, how do you look at whether, even an assignment is good for you? My values are family, equity, and learning. And so, family includes the four-legged ones with a tail, and, and friends, biology in my definition isn't family. And so what I want, and when I'm looking at things, I know I can't work for a company that does animal testing. It is a violation of my very basic principles. We can talk at another time of whether or not it's scientifically necessary and whether they're not better or cheaper, faster ways of doing that. But the thing is, for me, I know that I'm drawn to companies that are environmentally friendly. I'm drawn to companies that honor their people. And in today's environment, it is mandatory for me that the company believes fervently in equity and equality for all, because if they are not committed to that, I can't work for them. And you should know, as a hiring manager, what values you want and what the company stands for, so there's a good meaning of the minds. Without that, you can't hire well or hire for longevity. And here's the thing: people say, oh, and I know lots of hiring managers whose philosophy is, well, I'll just hire them, and if they don't work out, I'll let them go in a couple of months. Yeah. Here's the problem: it takes upwards of 3 years for somebody to become proficient at their job, and so that's whether you grow the talent internally or hire it externally. Internally, they're having to step up into new role and perform new obligations or responsibilities, but they've got a network. They know how the company works, but they're learning. It's new, and they have to fill their new shoes. You bring somebody in from the outside, and they're the ones that have to learn the relationships. They have to understand the externalities that play in on that environment and how people work together. And that's the sort of assessment that I really, really urge, both the company and employees, potential employees, to look at. That's how you hire better, and the thing is that compensation may be attractive, but it is only a part of it, of the work.
Yeah.
And don't let the dollar signs or the pound signs drive your decision. Be very careful about that. Be very careful about that.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. Now, crystal ball time. Crystal ball time. Yeah. Where do you see HR going in, should we say, the next 5 years? Will automation increasingly replace human selection? Will the C-suite start to include HR within its decision-making process? What's the crystal ball say?
So according to my crystal ball, I think we will see an increased reliance on automation to handle transactions. So, for example, artificial intelligence, the use of chat bots to help employees walk through benefit selection. That's the sort of thing that can be automated, and it leaves us free to do the work of interacting with people in a much more meaningful way, and to have time for it, frankly. We have a great deal more work, in my opinion, before we relegate hiring decisions to automation. And we need to learn how to use the data that we have, including assessments to evaluate behavior and competence, as well as fit. But in my mind, HR has to understand the business. And as one of my mentors has long encouraged, follow the money. If you know how a company makes money, then you'll know how the business works. And so I do think that HR is really going to have to become a true business partner. Right. And HR needs to lead change, HR needs to lead organizational design, and they need to earn that right by being the apolitical experts on productivity and process, so that they can help the organization structure themselves properly. And, the C-suite participation, the CEO has to take the lead here. And I do see this happening more and more, that the C-suite must rely on the CHRO. And we need to eliminate that phrase, oh, it's just HR. We need to give unbiased perspective, insight into how people operate, and know the things that, the executive staff should tap. We see people differently than hiring managers, and people should use our insight, that we have knowledge that can absolutely be the keys to success for the company. And once companies understand that, we are not just HR, but we earn that right to be at the executive table, along with marketing and sales, operations, and finance. If you don't get the people right, you can get everything else right and still fail miserably.
Jeanette, this has been a really inspiring interview. And so let me give you my final little fairy godmother thing here. You've got 3 wishes. 3 wishes. Use them wisely now. There's 3 wishes for the future of HR. What would they be?
Oh my, what a great question. First one, that HR leaders will be an equal partner on the executive staff, and not just in title, but they will be influential, they will be respected and included. That would be my number one. The second thing is that boards of directors, trustees, or advisors, whatever the corporate structure, governance structure is, need to create strong relationship with HR. And I think that that's a much needed investment in time and energy, that I think the payoff there would be tremendous. And finally, HR needs support. And what I mean by that is that the work they do is tough, and getting more so every day. I would love to see us routinely provide HR with coaches, with mentors, with godparents, so that as they support each and every person around them, that they have the support they need to keep up with the demands of the job and to feel good about it.
Dr. Jeanette Winters of Parrish Partners, I've put the URL behind me there. Do go along, because I have been so inspired with our conversation today. It was well worth the flight to California.
Well, I hope you enjoy our weather. It's a gorgeous day here.
Thank you very much indeed for your interview today. Thank you.